Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Kirsty and this is Stuck in the Mud. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about my experience of applying for PIP, which is Personal Independent Payment. And this only applies to UK residents because this is something that is awarded to people that have a physical disability or a mental health disorder. And it's something I was actually quite hesitant to apply for, but when I was in a really bad place, someone recommended that it was good for me to do because, I mean, at the time I wasn't functioning very well and I also wasn't working to the degree I usually do. And, you know, it was difficult because when I wasn't able to work as I usually would, you know, my income dropped substantially. And I thought, as much as I didn't want to do it, because the reason I didn't want to do that was because I always like to think that OCD doesn't define me. And this is why I like making these videos for everyone, because we can have OCD, but it doesn't have to limit our lives to the degree that it likes to, because OCD loves to control our lives, and it's completely distressing and debilitating. Anyone going through this, I know how hard it is. But when it did affect me, and it affects my ability to function and operate normally and do my work, do my job, I work for myself, you know, it had a major impact on myself and my family, so any extra income would be welcome. But this is my experience of applying for that with a mental health condition. And like I say, didn't want to do it, but I did, after a few people said I should, because personal independent payments, they do cover mental health disorders like OCD. It is made up of two parts. So there is a part which is for your daily living needs, and the other part is for your mobility needs. So for this whole claim, I had to ring the Personal Independent Payment hotline, and I gave all my personal details to them, my name, where I lived, telephone numbers, that kind of thing. I can't remember if I went into details about the disorder. I didn't go into much detail with them. But then I had to fill in some form online, which went into more detail about my mental health condition. And anyone that's got OCD, you know, will understand. It's very complicated. There's so many facets to it. There's just so many areas where it interferes with your daily life. And I put in as much detail as I could. So then that was submitted online, and then I had to wait quite a number of weeks before I heard anything back. And then I had actually got notice that I would have a video consultation online, and I had the date set for it. And back then, when I was really struggling, you know, I was ready for this. I thought, well, at least it's some help that we can get financially. So I felt okay on the day I did the video call, and I sat there with my husband because he knows how much this affects me, and he can be there to back me up and really, really say how it is, because I know, and many of you with OCD, sometimes we might play it down so much and, you know, not really tell people how much this really does interrupt our lives. And he was there to really go, no, hey, this is serious. This is really affecting us, and it's affecting our ability to carry out our work. And he was good. It was good to have him there. However, on that day, when I did the interview, I was feeling fine. You know, my anxiety wasn't very high that day. And for anyone suffering OCD and anxiety and, you know, knows we're not constantly like on edge, you know, you can hide it very well. And this is the thing with mental health conditions, they're not visible, and as opposed to a physical disorder. But then, you know, I didn't I guess I'm usually quite a talkative person anyway. You know, my anxiety and my OCD doesn't always display that way. I don't particularly have social anxiety. It's that there's many different ways you can have OCD, and the very different subtypes and how it affects you, and anxiety as well. It's not always present, but it's maybe simmering in the background. You can't really see it, but people don't know how much that interferes with your life. I felt the actual video consultation went okay. The lady was a mental health professional, and she came across really nice, and she explained the questions, and I put forward how I would be on my worst day, because it's very up and down. And OCD is like that. It can be very up and down. You can be having a really bad day, and the next day you'd be fine. And if I'd been having a bad day that day, that interview wouldn't have gone ahead. It just wouldn't have gone ahead. I wouldn't have been able to carry it out, even with my husband there. So I was okay. I did the interview, and I felt like, okay, it sounds promising. We might get some help from this. And then a few weeks went by. We were told we could probably wait for up to 8 weeks before we heard anything. And then I got the letter through the mail, which said, "Thank you for claiming personal independence payment. PIP is made up of 2 parts, help with daily living needs and help with mobility needs. I have looked at your claim and decided at this time I cannot award you PIP for help with your daily living needs. And at this time I cannot award you PIP for help with your mobility needs." And at first I was like, wow. And then I read the letter further, which actually scores you on all the different components, so all the parts of daily living and all the parts of your mobility needs. I scored 0 on everything. And I think that's what shocked me the most, because this, I'm going back a while here and going off how I wasn't functioning day to day, and it was affecting me. But it talks a lot about like your eating and drinking needs, preparing food. And for some people with OCD, that would be really difficult, because if they've got contamination OCD, then yeah, that applies. But preparing food, there's elements of it where it does bother me with OCD, but there's certain ones that would apply to me more. So, and it talks about everything. So let me give you some examples here. I said preparing food, eating and drinking. I don't eat or drink, or I have limited food and drink on days where I'm feeling particularly anxious, or the OCD intrusive thoughts, or I've got the better of me. I don't really eat as well those days. And managing my treatments, my husband often has to remind me to take my medication, but I can physically take them out of the packet. Now, and it's also about managing toilet needs, dressing and undressing, and, washing and bathing. And a lot of these things I can do, but some of them do impact me on my worst days. And this is where I felt, I was quite upset about it in a way, because I thought, wow, 0 for everything. Like, this doesn't impact my life at all. It just felt like an insult to anyone with a mental health disorder. You're saying this doesn't impact me at all? Really? Anyone with OCD will back me up how much it limits your life, how much it takes away, how much it takes up your head space. Like, you literally can't think of anything else when you have like looping thoughts, and you can't function as well. Like, you can't work the same. And sometimes we function to a degree, but those things don't ever go away. They do impact your daily life. And I think this is why I felt so upset by it all, because it's like they're just saying, well, this doesn't impact you at all. Like, you're fine. Look, and I mean, I'll go over it a little bit more as well, but same with the whole component for, your mobility. I don't drive literally because of OCD. Like, my whole life I've refused to learn to drive, because the thought of me driving and the thought of, it stops me doing these things, is because I feel like if I'd feel like I'd knock someone over all the time. I'd run someone over, or I'd cause some kind of catastrophic accident, even though it didn't happen, my false memory would come into play. And those are things that I probably purposely haven't done in my life because of OCD. So my husband has to take me most places, my appointments. I gave them a lot of my medical history, which is very extensive. I've had OCD for 40 years, but it was diagnosed officially in my 20s. So I have a long catalogue of seeing psychiatrists, psychologists, various different treatments, various different medication, all my medication history. I'm on very high medication. I've actually, been under consultants and trying to work out my medication, even the crisis team that I've been under. And none of this was probably deemed good enough to get help financially. And it just, I get it's all about how it impacts your daily life. I understand all that. And the thing is, people don't understand OCD. They don't understand mental health disorders. And we've got people that are actually making these decisions that don't understand it. Because the person that carried out my interview, the mental health professional, they understand it. But the people that actually make the decision, as far as I'm aware, they don't have any experience in this. So to make those kind of decisions when you don't understand something, it just seemed preposterous. How could you do that? And it's just so insulting the way it's put as well, the letter. I don't, it's mind-blowing, really, and I really feel for anyone. I'm guessing it's going to be different I've heard of successful cases for mental health conditions, and it saddens me that, that it might depend where you are in the country, just by chance who actually does your case and your claim. But I felt to score 0 on all these things, it's basically saying it doesn't impact me at all. And that is just insulting. It really is. They said that I didn't appear anxious in the interview. You can't see anxiety, it's, you might, if I literally had to sit there shaking, then that wasn't my worst day. That would have to be on a really bad day. But even then, I might not be physically, we mask a lot. Anyone with mental health conditions, we learn how to mask it because we're so used to it every day, but it does still impact our lives, And it's sad that it's viewed like that you didn't appear anxious, so you were you're coherent, so I'm not going to award you this. It's just diabolical, basically. And it saddens me that this is how these cases are being treated. They talk about concentration, and I had adequate general memory, and they acknowledge some things that I don't, but even some of the information that actually came back wasn't even right. So I know I didn't say certain things, and it just feels like someone's just glanced over it and been told that they have a set number of cases they're allowed to put through, and they just thought, well, this person doesn't seem anxious, so we'll say no to her. It's crazy. And this is when I really did need the help as well. It's all my medical history and would back it up. I was obviously in a really, really difficult place. I was in the crisis mental health team under them for 3 years. And because I needed the help with my medication and trying to get, things right. And of course, medication masks a lot as well, because that'll dampen down our anxiety and certain things, but it still affects us. It's like, are they going to judge an asthmatic on the fact that they're not having, they're not wheezing and coughing in the interview, so therefore they're not asthmatic? It's just ridiculous. It really is. You can't see things all the time, can you? Especially on a face-to-face video call. And I think it's terrible the way it's judged. And I just wanted to give my honest opinion. I could actually disagree with the decision for that personal independent payment claim. But I think I was just so insulted by it. And I really, probably wasn't in the best headspace at the time to then actually go back and disagree with it. I just felt so insulted by it that it really upset me, like to the point I just wanted to cry, because I thought, you're not seen. It is a real thing, and mental health disorders are such frightening things to go through, and unless you've been there and you've experienced it, you don't understand. You don't understand how much it affects your life. Like, you're not living the same way, you're not doing things the same way. It impacts you in ways people don't even understand. And I think the questions need to be different for mental health. They're very different things. Physical things and mental things are very different. And I do think there needs to be different questions for each thing, and how they impact you, because this is just not right. It's, in my opinion, it's not right, and I think it's very unfair. And like I say, some people are successful with it. I think I read somewhere that there's like a 50% success rate with, I think, OCD. But people don't understand. They need to have people that understand these things, because just judging you from the way you are functioning that day, I was told to actually say what I was like on my worst day, but they were judging me off that day, and that's unfair. So let me know if this is something you have been through. Have you applied for PIP in the UK? How did you find it? Were you successful with your claim, or were you not? How did you feel about it? Because that's what this whole experience left me with. Like I say, I like to think OCD doesn't define me, but I have had my tough times with it, and it's very up and down. And although I'm doing better now, it still affects me to a degree, But then when, I needed it, it wasn't there for me. And I would like to know what you think about that, because it's, in my opinion, it was very unfair and insulting to say it didn't affect me. Like, I scored 0 points, which I find really awful. If you suffer with something like this, you want to be heard, you want to know that you're seen and there is help available. But it felt like a bit of a kick in the teeth, when you're going through something really difficult and the help wasn't there. And I should have disagreed with that decision. I don't think I was probably the strongest at the time, so that's why I didn't. But let me know what you think in the comments. If you could give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It's great to do these videos for you if you're suffering from OCD, and give you hope, because there is hope to get better from OCD. It doesn't have to run your life. Like I say, and I've heard this quote, it's amazing, you can have OCD, but it doesn't have you. I'll see you next time.